If your blood sugar climbs after breakfast, stays high after dinner, or rises even when you think you are eating carefully, the fastest food-based change is not starvation, and it is not removing every carbohydrate. It is choosing foods that slow glucose before it floods your bloodstream. Some can change the shape of your very next reading. Others reduce the repeated spikes that quietly damage nerves, blood vessels, kidneys, eyesight, and the independence you have worked your whole life to protect. Food is not emergency treatment for dangerously high glucose, and it should never replace prescribed medication. If you use insulin, glyburide, glipizide, glympyride, or another medicine that can cause low blood sugar, monitor carefully and discuss major dietary changes with your clinician. Older adults have a higher risk of hypoglycemia. I'm Dr. William Lee, and today on Age Clarity Health, I will show you 10 foods that make blood sugar easier to control, how to use them, and the common preparation mistakes that can turn a good food into a glucose problem. Number 2 changes how your next plate behaves. Number 1 proves that carbohydrates are not automatically the enemy. Number 10 is whole berries. Many people see the word fruit and immediately see sugar. Then they remove fruit, become hungry, and reach for crackers, cookies, or sweetened yogurt later. That trade often makes the situation worse. Whole berries behave differently from juice, syrup, or dried fruit. Their water and fiber slow digestion, while their sweetness can satisfy the desire for dessert without delivering the same concentrated carbohydrate load as many processed snacks. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, and blackberries are all useful choices. The word whole matters. A glass of berry juice can be consumed in seconds, and much of the natural fiber has been lost. A bowl of whole berries takes longer to eat and reaches your intestine in a more intact form. The CDC specifically notes that juice raises blood sugar faster than whole fruit. Use about half a cup to 1 cup, depending on your meal plan and glucose response. Pair the berries with plain yogurt, cottage cheese, or a small portion of nuts. That protein, fat, and fiber combination slows the rise further. The mistake is turning berries into a sugar delivery system. Sweetened granola, honey, flavored yogurt, and a large banana can transform a small berry bowl into a very high carbohydrate breakfast. Consider a familiar morning. You eat only toast because it feels light. 2 hours later, your glucose is high and you are hungry again. Now imagine replacing half that toast with plain Greek yogurt, berries, and walnuts. You have not eaten less food. You have changed how quickly the meal reaches your blood. If this is helping you understand what may be happening in your body, subscribe to Age Clarity Health. You may write your blood sugar issue or question in the comments. I personally read the comments and respond whenever possible. Number 9 is plain Greek yogurt. The danger is not yogurt itself. The danger is the dessert hiding inside the yogurt container. Some flavored yogurts contain enough added sugar to behave more like pudding. Plain Greek yogurt usually gives you more protein and less added sugar, although labels still matter. Protein slows stomach emptying and can soften the glucose rise from fruit or a small portion of oats. Choose plain, unsweetened Greek yogurt. Look at the total carbohydrate and added sugar lines, not only the words natural, light, or low fat on the front. A product can look healthy and still contain a large sugar load. A sensible serving is usually about 3/4 of a cup. Add berries, chopped walnuts, chia seeds, or cinnamon for flavor. Cinnamon can make food taste sweeter without adding sugar, but do not treat cinnamon powder or capsules as a replacement for diabetes treatment. Research on cinnamon has been inconsistent, and concentrated supplements can interact with medicines or create other problems. Greek yogurt can be especially useful when the alternative is cereal, pastries, or sweetened coffee. It can also help older adults preserve protein intake, which matters because losing muscle makes glucose control harder. Your muscles are one of the largest places your body stores and uses glucose. When muscle mass shrinks, your metabolic reserve can shrink with it. If you have advanced kidney disease, severe lactose intolerance, or a prescribed protein or mineral restriction, your portion may need to be individualized. The goal is not to copy someone else's breakfast. It is to build a breakfast your body can handle repeatedly. Number 8 is whole eggs. Eggs do not lower blood sugar like a drug. Their power comes from what they replace. 2 eggs contain very little carbohydrate. If they replace a bowl of sugary cereal, a pastry, or several slices of white toast, the difference on your glucose meter can be visible that same morning. Add spinach, mushrooms, peppers, or tomatoes, and the meal becomes larger without becoming a carbohydrate avalanche. This is where many people make a painful mistake. They fear the egg, remove it, and replace it with refined breakfast food that pushes glucose much higher. The better question is not, is this food perfect? The better question is, what am I eating instead? For many adults, 1 or 2 eggs can fit into a balanced eating pattern. But the rest of the plate still matters. Eggs fried beside hash browns, white toast, sweetened coffee, and processed meat do not create the same meal as eggs with vegetables and half an avocado. If you have been given specific cholesterol or heart disease guidance, follow the plan designed for you. Diabetes does not affect only glucose. It also raises cardiovascular risk, so the total eating pattern matters more than one isolated food. Use eggs as an anchor. Start with protein, add vegetables, then decide whether you still need a smaller serving of toast or oats. That order can make breakfast feel satisfying without forcing your pancreas to respond to a large, refined carbohydrate load all at once. Number 7 is avocado. Avocado is useful because it slows the meal and makes it more satisfying. It supplies fiber and mostly unsaturated fat with relatively little digestible carbohydrate. When you add avocado to a meal containing bread, rice, beans, or fruit, you are not erasing the carbohydrate. You are changing the environment around it. The CDC explains that eating carbohydrate with protein, fat, or fiber slows how quickly blood sugar rises. Avocado brings 2 of those 3. The portion still matters. Half an avocado is often enough. More is not automatically better, especially when weight management is part of your glucose plan. Healthy fats are still calorie dense. Try half an avocado beside eggs, in a bean salad, or mashed onto 1 slice of whole grain toast instead of using several slices with jam. The glucose benefit comes from substitution and balance, not from placing avocado on top of an already oversized meal. This is also a useful food for people who feel hungry soon after eating. Repeated hunger can pull you toward quick snacks, and quick snacks often mean crackers, cookies, chips, or sweet drinks. A meal that keeps you satisfied can prevent the next spike before it starts. Number 6 is nuts. A small handful of nuts can rescue the most dangerous time of day for many older adults, the late afternoon. Lunch is over. Dinner is still hours away. Energy falls. The kitchen begins calling. That is when many people reach for biscuits, pretzels, chips, or a cereal bar that looks healthy but contains refined starch and sugar. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios, peanuts, and pecans provide fat, protein, and fiber. Randomized trial reviews have found that tree nuts can modestly improve measures of glucose control when they replace other calories in the diet. The replacement is the important part. Use roughly 1 small handful, not a large bowl. Choose unsalted or lightly salted nuts if blood pressure is also a concern. Avoid honey roasted, candied, chocolate covered, and heavily glazed versions. Here is the rule that protects you from the calorie trap. Replace, do not simply add. Replace the cookie with nuts. Replace the crackers with nuts. Do not eat the cookie, the crackers, and the nuts because each item was described as acceptable somewhere online. If chewing is difficult, use a small amount of unsweetened peanut or almond butter. Check the label. The best versions are mostly nuts, with little or no added sugar. The first 6 foods work in different ways, but they share one pattern. They reduce refined carbohydrate, add protein or fiber, and make the meal slower. The next 4 matter even more because they can change the carbohydrate portion itself. This is where many people finally stop fighting food and begin controlling the meal. Number 5 is chia seed. Chia seed absorbs liquid and forms a gel. That gel is mostly soluble fiber, which can slow digestion and make a meal more filling. 1 or 2 tablespoons can add substantial fiber without adding a large amount of digestible carbohydrate. Stir chia into plain yogurt, mix it into overnight oats, or soak it in milk or an unsweetened alternative until it softens. Do not swallow a spoonful dry. Chia expands when wet, and dry seeds can be difficult for someone with swallowing problems. Drink enough fluid unless your clinician has restricted fluids. Chia is not a magic powder. If you add it to a large sweet smoothie made with fruit juice, sweetened milk, honey, and several servings of fruit, the smoothie can still raise glucose sharply. The seed cannot cancel the rest of the drink. The best use is small and deliberate. Add 1 tablespoon to yogurt with berries. Add it to oats to increase fiber, or use it to replace part of a sugary granola topping. Fiber also affects the bowel. Increase it gradually, especially if your current diet is low in fiber. A sudden jump can cause bloating, cramping, or constipation when fluid intake is inadequate. If you take medicines that affect swallowing, digestion, or blood clotting, or you have a history of intestinal narrowing, ask your clinician before making concentrated seeds a daily habit. Food can be powerful without being harmless in every situation. If you want more videos that turn confusing health advice into practical steps, subscribe to Age Clarity Health. Tell me in the comments which meal gives you the highest reading: breakfast, lunch, dinner, or overnight. I review your experiences personally and answer when I can. Number 4 is old-fashioned oats or intact barley. This next one surprises people because oats and barley are carbohydrates. Yet the structure of a carbohydrate can matter as much as the word carbohydrate. Oats and barley contain beta-glucan, a soluble fiber that thickens in the digestive tract. Reviews of controlled feeding studies have found that oat beta-glucan can reduce the rise in glucose after a meal. Whole oats and oat bran have also shown benefits for longer-term glucose measures in people with type 2 diabetes. But not every product wearing the word oatmeal behaves the same way. A bowl of old-fashioned oats with nuts and chia is very different from instant-flavored oatmeal filled with sugar. Large flakes, steel-cut oats, oat bran, and intact barley usually preserve more structure than finely milled, rapidly cooked products. Processing can make starch easier and faster to digest. Start with a modest portion, often about half a cup cooked, then add protein and fat. Plain Greek yogurt, chopped nuts, chia, or an egg on the side can make the meal more stable. Do not build the bowl with brown sugar, maple syrup, sweetened dried fruit, and a large banana, then blame the oats. Barley can replace white rice in soup, stew, or a grain bowl. Its texture forces you to chew, and its beta-glucan helps slow the meal. Watch your own numbers. Some people respond well to oats, others see a larger rise than expected. Diabetes is not a morality test. A food can be nutritious and still require a smaller portion in your body. Number 3 is fatty fish. Salmon, sardines, trout, herring, and mackerel contain almost no carbohydrate. They provide protein, and the oily varieties supply omega-3 fats that support cardiovascular health. Why include fish in a blood sugar video if it does not directly pull glucose from your bloodstream? Because diabetes threatens more than the glucose number. It raises the risk of heart and blood vessel disease, and the meal choices used to control glucose should not quietly worsen that larger risk. Fatty fish can replace breaded meat, processed sausage, or a meal built mainly around refined starch. Pair it with non-starchy vegetables and a smaller high-fiber carbohydrate. The result is a plate that is filling, protein-rich, and easier to control. Aim for fish regularly if it fits your preferences and medical plan. The American Heart Association commonly recommends fish, especially fatty fish, twice weekly for cardiovascular benefit. Bake, grill, poach, or use canned salmon or sardines. Deep frying and sugary sauces can change the meal dramatically. Choose lower mercury options more often. Salmon, sardines, trout, and Atlantic mackerel are generally practical choices. King mackerel is different and is high in mercury, so the exact name matters. Common situation looks like this. Someone sees a high glucose reading and removes rice, but dinner becomes processed meat, cheese, and almost no vegetables. The meter may look better briefly, yet the overall pattern becomes harder on the heart. Better glucose control should protect your future, not trade one danger for another. Number 2 is non-starchy vegetables. This is the food group most people know they should eat and still underestimate. Broccoli, leafy greens, peppers, mushrooms, green beans, zucchini, cauliflower, cabbage, asparagus, tomatoes, and eggplant give the plate volume, fiber, water, vitamins, and minerals without a large carbohydrate load. The Nikkei and CDC plate methods both place non-starchy vegetables on half the plate. Half, not a decorative spoonful. The fastest practical use is to eat them first. Begin with salad, roasted vegetables, or vegetable soup, then eat protein, and leave the starch for later in the meal. A 2026 systematic review found that most of 6 small studies involving 144 people with diabetes reported smaller post-meal glucose rises when carbohydrate was eaten last. The evidence is still limited, but the approach is simple and low cost. Do not turn vegetables into hidden sugar. Sweet glazes, large amounts of barbecue sauce, breading, and sugary dressings can undo the advantage. Use olive oil, lemon, vinegar, herbs, garlic, or spices. Frozen vegetables count. Canned vegetables can count too, especially when rinsed to reduce sodium. Convenience matters because the best plan is the one you can repeat on an ordinary Tuesday, not only when you have energy to cook from scratch. This food group also protects independence in a quiet way. A larger, satisfying plate can reduce overeating without making you feel punished. Better glucose control supports circulation, nerve health, vision, kidney health, and the energy needed to shop, cook, walk, drive, and remain active. Now we reach number 1, beans and lentils. These foods expose one of the most damaging myths in diabetes, that every carbohydrate should be feared. Beans, chickpeas, split peas, and lentils contain carbohydrate, but they package it with fiber and plant protein. That structure slows digestion and usually produces a gentler rise than refined grains or many potato preparations. Systematic reviews of controlled trials have found that pulses can improve post-meal and longer-term measures of glucose control, although the size of the effect varies. The practical power is replacement. Replace part of the white rice with lentils. Replace some ground meat with beans. Use chickpeas in a salad instead of croutons. Choose bean soup instead of a meal built around bread. Start with about half a cup cooked. If your body handles it well, the portion can be adjusted with your dietitian or diabetes educator. Canned beans are acceptable. Rinse them to reduce sodium. If gas is a problem, begin with a smaller amount, increase slowly, and consider lentils, which some people tolerate more easily. Do not assume every bean dish is protective. Baked beans can contain substantial added sugar. Refried beans may contain large amounts of fat and sodium. A giant burrito with white rice, a large tortilla, chips, and sweetened sauce is not the same as half a cup of beans on a balanced plate. Beans also matter after 60 because they are affordable, shelf-stable, and filling. They help you build a satisfying meal without depending on expensive specialty products marketed as diabetic. Imagine a 72-year-old man who believes rice is his only problem. He removes it completely, feels deprived, and returns to old eating within a week. A better plan keeps a smaller portion of rice, adds lentils, fills half the plate with vegetables, and includes fish or another protein. The meal still looks familiar. The glucose rise is often easier to manage. Most importantly, he can repeat it. That is the real secret behind lowering blood sugar with food. The strongest foods do not attack glucose after it is already high. They prevent the next meal from hitting your bloodstream so violently. Here is the 4-part protocol to begin safely. First, use a 9-inch plate at your largest meal. Fill half with non-starchy vegetables, 1/4 with protein, and 1/4 with a high-fiber carbohydrate such as beans, lentils, intact barley, or a modest portion of oats. This is the structure supported by the CDC and Nikkei plate method. Second, change the order. Eat vegetables first, protein second, and the carbohydrate portion last. Do not expect perfection. Test whether the sequence changes your own post-meal pattern. Third, replace one refined food each day. Replace juice with whole berries. Replace sweetened yogurt with plain Greek yogurt. Replace crackers with a small handful of nuts. Replace some white rice with lentils. One replacement is easier to sustain than 10 dramatic restrictions. Fourth, record 7 days. Write down what you ate, your portion, your glucose before the meal if advised, and your reading at the time recommended by your care team. Look for patterns, not one frightening number. Bring the record to your clinician, pharmacist, diabetes, educator, or registered dietitian. If readings begin falling and you use insulin or a medicine that can cause hypoglycemia, do not reduce the medicine by yourself. Contact the professional managing it. A reading below 70 milligrams per deciliter is considered low for many people and requires prompt attention according to your diabetes plan. Subscribe to Age Clarity Health so you do not miss the next senior health guide. The goal is not a perfect plate. The goal is protecting the strength, vision, circulation, confidence, and independence that let you continue living life on your terms. High reading does not mean you have failed. One imperfect meal does not erase your progress. What matters is the pattern you build and the warning signs you stop ignoring. When food repeatedly produces smaller spikes, your pancreas faces less demand, your blood vessels face less glucose exposure, and your daily energy can become more predictable. That can make it easier to walk, shop, cook, sleep, and stay involved in your own care. But many people do everything correctly at dinner and still wake with their highest reading before breakfast. That is not always caused by what you ate. Overnight hormones and liver glucose release can push morning sugar upward even while you are fasting. Watch the next video on why blood sugar rises before breakfast and what to check when your morning number refuses to come down.